Australia, home to the oldest continuous culture on the planet. A culture steeped in tradition and maintained through law. Law is the all-encompassing rules and regulations for Indigenous Australia. It was once the cornerstone, the unquestionable and unwavering direction of life in Australia. Law is the dance, song and story. Tools of law once passed down knowledge, lessons learned over a millennia, generation to generation. It would give directions for life, but it was fierce. Any deviation from tradition were met with punishment by spear. But now this law is endangered, extinct across much of Australia. Holders of the law are the last of a time gone by, the highest order in Aboriginal culture, the lawmen, the elders, the knowledge holders. Law is life, religion, and it is dying.
When I first met number two, I have never met anybody like him, across Australia and all stuff like. There's just a aura about him. You know what I mean? He's such a unique people. I call him, like, in my head, I see him as a cowboy warrior. He's one of the last of the cowboy warriors. And when I say cowboy, him being a stockman. When I say warrior, him being an old Aboriginal man, senior lawman. So I do see him as a cowboy warrior, and that's the perception I have of him. I think he's over 100 now. The legacy he's left by putting boys through law over that, journey of 87 years or more, that's huge. I don't think anybody's has departed that much law, culture and wisdom anywhere in Australia. And he's not known. It's kind of like, why doesn't the rest of the world know this old man?
I was born right in Tigray Health Camp. Place now in Kurumkuru. That's why my father buried too. He used to work post office, Condon post office. I used to lead the camel from there to Broome. So I went with him far as Vijayanagara. I was a kid, He used to trust me pretty well. He looked after me well too, my father. He used to, when I walk, he don't walk too far. He just put me on he just grabbed me and put me down here. Where I was in a big cemetery there. Until I get a little bit bigger, and my mother got right, and then they come back to the camp, Only one little out camp, one station there or two, one brushman shop, one got one will stuff and stuff, When the rain time, we used to come to that little, what do you call them there? We come to the little bastion used to be fun. Wow, we still there today. When no rain, we can't bounce it like that. Not to us. In the flat, we can't. No bed that time. We had three of us. Me, the first one, and the two behind me. Me, Jack, and Felix after. And then my mother got, when I lost him, And then another father grabbed my mother, and then I got another two more, sister and brother. Upon I wanted to go to school, the policeman grabbed and took me. They grabbed me when I went to Mendora on the truck, and he told me to stop on the truck. And then I wanted to go to school. But Frank Thompson and Randy and Mac, they come down into the port and they take me back.
I was taken from my mother when I was aged 4 from Meekatharra and brought down to Sister Kate's in Perth. Like a lot of other Aboriginal kids under the old Aborigines 1905 Act, because of the colour of our skin. It set it out very clearly in the Act, full blood, 3/4, half caste, quarter caste, and even octroon. And so I came down here at age 4, couldn't speak English. I had no idea where I was, and I'd spent 2 days on the train with a strange white lady. And so I have no memory of that. I only know what's in my government file and what my family have told me. So I grew up in Sister Kate's. It was pretty hard. There was, up to any one time, 80 to 100 kids here. And we went to school at the local primary school, but the girls were being trained as domestics and the boys as farm hands.
Well, through the stolen generations, when kids were taken, placed in missions, they weren't allowed to speak Noongar language at all. Weren't allowed to, it was considered taboo, and it's through that. Most colonial societies, the first thing they do when they arrive in the country is firstly take people's language and culture and isolate them so they can't practice that. And when you lose your language, you lose some of that intrinsic affiliation to land.
I had been told by in a letter that my family were trying to find me, but Sister Kate's told me I didn't have a family and that people tell lies. Sister Kate said that you have to leave when you got a job. Other children from here went on farms. Girls went to nurses, and they qualified as nurses or nurses' aides. But I was an office worker. You don't get accommodation with an office. And so I didn't have anywhere to go. I had nobody. So I saw a poster at lunchtime one day about joining the army. And so I, in 1961, joined the Women's Royal Australian Army Corps with 4 other girls, all in different situations. And one of the girls who's still alive is my best friend from 61 years ago. When the kids were removed, They were removed to give them a chance in life, and the old saying was they shouldn't be brought up with natives. They didn't realise that, like everybody in the world, there's bonds in families. And just because you had a different colour father doesn't mean your mother still doesn't have a bond. So the idea was to take away the light-skinned children and hopefully get them integrated into white society. It was a form of extermination in another way. We were removed arbitrarily by police officers who, in my case, they kept an eye on me in the government file for 2 years. They tracked a 2-year-old kid until I was old enough to be removed, then made a decision to remove me. For 30 years, you'd been told you're going to have a family. So when I was working in Port Hedland in the office for Aboriginal employment, this young man came in at lunchtime, or came in the morning, and I thought he was looking for a job. And he said he was my nephew. And I said, I don't have a family. And he said, and then something rang a bell. So I said, have I got a brother called Joe? And he said, it's my uncle. So from then, a couple of days later, I went down to Meekatharra and met a massive family. A mother who's black, and you don't know, because I never had a picture of a mother. And all these brothers and sisters, because all up there was 13 of us, and I was the only one taken away. Yeah. I've never wanted anyone to feel sorry for me. It was my mother. She suffered 30 years not knowing where I was, and then my brothers and sisters. And I can't imagine that, I'm close to my 2 sons and my grandsons, and I could never in a million years understand what my mum went through.
Well, we used to play around this. Well, I never used to play, I used to work when I was a kid. But I've been working when I was a little one, see. Started off when I was small. I'm still working today. I started off with building houses. This is a store I built this one, or using a spanner. That's my first job. Job, Spanish job. All this. Right. And then after that, I've been a muster then, mustering horse. They put me on a horse. All my uncles, my Thompson, they took me on a horse. And then I did a lot of that sheep mustering. We used to come down there and mustering camp with that. I think, what do you mean? Now, I just started that. Oh, that clay place, see? You come straight down from the out camp. One day used to play around there. This place got, this station got a stingray right here. They got root out camp. That's the windmill up here, Ridley windmill. And there's a creek there. And there's another windmill up here. There used to be out camp there. I grew a little one. I grew up from the little one. The same time we grew up. I had a fight with him every time. I can't grow up where he got. I had fight him in the station sometimes, out camp. And I was a little, he used to fight too. But sometimes he's too soft too. Nearly got. He made me cry sometimes. Said I worked with my uncle, he was my boss. They learned me how to do it, everything. And I worked with Peter. That's a man who loves me now. Peter, old Peter, he was old Peterson, they call it. He was working in part of outcome for a long time. He was the little singer. He was the little singer, but I used to do with a singer for him. I went to head stock market. I went down and have a look at the catalogue and I watched the cattle next year, or next day, with Portugal and mustard. I went down there and he had Peter with him. Peter, he's not much of a man. The two Peter worked together, see, after, I don't know what they done. I was there, they got, he's thinking of something. He wanted to push Peter or something, or what Peter done to him. I just was around, I fucking slip off. And I don't know what he did. All of the wind was walking along, wind was it, hard. Wind was up this side. He pulled up there, and he's buried over there right in the corner. Oh, Peter. Good day, Peter. You might be know me. I'm in here to see you. I'm still alive. Went around there. When I come back, I see them people crying there. What's wrong? What's the fall off the window? He comes from out camp. Well, I tell him that he should leave it to me, or he would have waited for me. He'd have somebody else with him. I don't know whether another man pushed him or what, or he just slipped off himself. Yeah. Oh, well, he's a good old fellow too. He's the one who learned me for everything. Big mob used to be working here. And all the wildland people was working here too. A lot of sheep. Well, you do much for 2 days, one paddock. 2 days, another one, 2 days, another one. The 5 days, 4 paddocks. 9, 10 days. You go back, get up in the morning. Horses, 6 o'clock you're gone. You come back about 1 o'clock sometime. Then you got nothing to do all afternoon.
A lot of people do romanticise about Aboriginal people. They kind of like, oh, you know, you're one with the land and stuff like that. Look, we utilise resources, but we manipulated resources to our own advantage, but manipulated them in a way where it was sustainable through the landscape. What was good for them? I mean, Australia's actual ecosystem was actually shaped by Aboriginal people burning country. I mean, that's why we got a eucalypt-dominant type of vegetation, and the only way that it sprouts is through fire.
But we live on this. We live on that kangaroo. That's what we live on. What you got? Dog, dingo, Kurangara, Marundu, Telangadi, Wangali, Wandigi, Solataka. Yeah, part of got a lot of Bengal, there's a black one, you know.
Yeah, several occasions I've been lucky enough and actually quite privileged to sit down on a creek bed with number 2. We were on survey. I knew where there were some goannas, and the younger fellas of our survey team wanted to go and get them. The boys saw 2 goannas and raced off, jumped out of the car and raced off after them. Number 2 goes, oh, we'll just go down the creek. And so me and him were sitting down the creek. He actually saw a goanna and walked up to the goanna and started singing. It's laid down in front of him.
You think it's the first one, when you see it, when you go past track, when you track them, you sing that's the first song. He walk and he get tired when he start walking. And then when he starts see you, good long side, when he starts running, you start, you follow him along, you don't have to run. You follow him along and you find him, he's waiting for you.
He's captured, knocked it on the head, captured the goanna and had it laying inside him. The other boys came back with snot, dust all through their body, you know. And he said to him, oh, did you catch one? No, Pop, we didn't catch one. He goes, oh, okay, then cook this one, and just chucked it. And I was just like, yeah. That's the magic of him, like he's just, yeah. They grabbed me, hold my mouth. They white, my dad and mother want to put me through the law. And I went through the law. I walked from there, got to the creek. I went for 3 weeks, traveling. For the people, they'll raise the people. I can't hear what they're talking about. Couldn't understand. You'll raise it, they talk. I talk Yamara, so it's different language. When you're going through the law, I gotta go every year, see like it's a man, right glass. It's not only one law. You'll get through a middle, and then you'll go through the Irani, and then you'll go through the Wumana, and you'll go through the Purugayil, and you're man in this. All right, I want to get through the law. We were living on dingoes and nightclubs, no tugging. But if you are here and there, you get tugged. That's before the strike. Well, when they were holidays, they give half a bag of flour for 3 weeks. That doing what that war now, see? That's that bomb room, see? That meant this mob, I don't know that
plane coming up. That's my brother there, who's talking. He never know that all the bombs coming. There's two planes come. I just don't know. This carbon, they call it seal to stop the bomb. But that's what he's mean when he's singing. One bomb, they killed that one young fella. That's the bomb. And when he says, my brother, he look around, he sees this mob come in, marching along. Then the mob, where did this mob come from? What's this mob do? I gotta get that song. Just about losing all the songs.
Some of the most interesting stories that I've actually heard and were songlines and stories and dances and stuff like that was up in Queensland. They were talking about a plane had crashed and they had a whole song and dance about this plane crashing at a Pacific time. And this was in the 1943s. And they've still got that story and tell that story when this plane crashed and what happened as a result of that. Country got burnt and got burnt a certain way and scarred the landscape, and they talk about that through their song, which is quite interesting. And that's culture in itself, living and not being static.
We wanted to go for training. We went to the horses, you know, 16 horses we had. We bring the horses from Wyalong, some of them, Tigray mob, Bungalow, Adu. We all the boys, we come there to train with them. We were running every morning, early in the morning. Oh, a lot of exercise. Oh, that's good too. That's what make good, I think. A lot of running with it, shooting, training. How to shoot, how to use a rifle, how to handle the rifle, how you go. 3 of them. I still got my 3 of them, still there too. The old one, never used them. Nothing scared me, but I wouldn't let me go. And then we went back after. I was jockey all my life. Now training horses, and go back to work every afternoon in the morning. Come back training horses again. Oh, he was my horse, my little horse, Micah Colt. I give him a name. My horse was too good for him. Nobody couldn't ride him. I come all the way from Parker to ride him. He can buck to the bucking boys, riding him down. Oh, that horse was too good. The races time, we went in there and all working on the 4 miles. I was training horses there. And I come in there and I see the mob there. So we all walked on down. They tell us that we all went there anyway. We all strike. We made a strike, yeah.
The 1946 strike talks about Aboriginal stockmen in the Pilbara. I think some in the Kimberleys as well. Went on strike, sat down, in and around equal pay. Wasn't taught that in schools at all.
Don McLeod, who led the strike, the old white man, he was from Meekatharra, where I'm from. When they decided to go out on strike, that they went off because they weren't being paid to work and do all the work on the stations. And the women were doing all the cooking, looking after the kids, everything, because there are very few non-Aboriginal people working on pastoral properties. And the women were being abused, some not abused, in relationships with the white managers. But when they walked off, you got nobody there on any pastoral property. How Don and Clancy McKenna, and Clancy couldn't read and write, but he went round to the various pastoral properties, mostly on a push bike, and they all were given May the 1st, the date, when they would all walk off the station. And symbolic, May the 1st is May Day in Russia, and Don McLeod was a known communist. And that's where the date originates from. So all people were given this board to mark off each day and walk off on that day. Most people couldn't read and write, but they could mark off a day.
We all went on strike on 4 Mile Day. I was with them. I just come in from Pardu. We went to strike. And then we wasn't that bad, you know. We was still good.
If you have a look at the way oppression is, we had convicts that came to Australia. They were oppressed by the British. And most people that are oppressed will try and oppress others that they believe are beneath them. And the competitive nature of the way Australia was settled was about land. Convicts were provided land. If Aboriginal people were there, they would oppress them and move them on, and the cycle just happens.
Wake up in the morning, when the buses come up there, you know, we all went back to 12 Mile. Everyone on the bus was all coming to pick us up. I said, no, we're not going back. And I was right there. I was right there.
And they walked off, wasn't because Don McLeod told them to, it was because they understood they were not getting wages, and they should have been getting wages. You know, there were other workers who were getting paid, but not them. So whole families, they've got tea and tobacco, a bit of sugar and sometimes a bit of meat. Well, you know, and that might have been the 40s, and it was just after the war. The wharfies helped them in Headland, all of those sort of things. But then they had a march, not a major march, but it was called a march. You know, only a few hundred yards, but it was still a march. And then they were ostracised by governments and other people. And what people don't really understand is the strength of that group, where they worked for years, yandying for tin, whatever they could get, selling, you know, killing goats, selling goat meat, you know, doing the skins. And they did that for years. And before some of them died, they said they're still on strike, you know, decades later. And to me, it was a show of resilience and strength. It made a difference to the families of those people who went out on strike, because they have somebody in their family they can be proud of, who led something that went on for decades. If those old men hadn't have died, it'd still be going. And it's part of Australian history.
I walked out, and when we come back again next time, you know, we see the job was in there, right? But something a little bit, you know, a little bit more better than what you used to be. And then they give us a camp, huh? It was a camp in the 40s. These little bit of pay come up one after strike, you know. When I was a head stockman, I only get £2.10 a week. Because we get what we want now. You can get something, you know. But one time we were very hard to get that. We're going to grab one of them because like a man. Let him get married. I had another wife. She'd been given to me. They were there waiting for me. I done his uncle. I the one. I done him. See, I was a doctor for him. I make him man, and he said, "Give me that one." My wife, Mangalisat. They call it Mangalisat. They give it to me. You're a young girl too. He went to Broome and died in Broome. I got 4 drops. See, that all the skin now, milling them up. Just like one of them up here, pulling them up here, climbing them up here, all like that. This is my mother. I got him, he's my room. My father is a Panaga. My kid is a Panaga. I'm very telling you, he's the same color, same face to me. He's a Melange himself. But he had it. Oh, we had to get a spare for that. I got a lot of spare for that. That's why I wasn't not too heavy. I got space from my leg with it. Not my fault, it's that mob's fault. But this mob, they're dumb, see? They should have let it go. I don't want it in because I need a fellow that he was in Black Hospital, made a trouble in Anslow, and he come there. He had a police, see? And they all want me to marry him. So I took him to Watergum, pardon. It saved him out of the trouble. Yeah, when I used to get paid, he's gone. And he'll come there for a week and he come back and he gone. Like up and down, I said, next time you go with it, go for good. When I do that spare, you know, when I clean that spare and do that, sharpen them, everything, they put it in the fire and straighten him up, you know. That's how the smoke coming from there. When I spray you, that thing will come up to you. They spread me right there. All my mothers couldn't do nothing. They just walk around there and stop.
The punishment used to be by spear. We can look at punishment a different way now. I think you can create a new law with modern takes on things. No culture's static, it evolves, so therefore that law, in a sense, has to evolve with the modern times. And some of that punishment used to be isolation, and maybe isolation is the punishment rather than the spearing, you know. And I think you have to evolve. And in some of that traditional law, with them oldies and them elders that can make that law, can start to actually revive that and modernise it in a way where it sits inside of society properly nowadays. Yeah.
But that word, some of them, they're free now. That's why we say they're losing the law behind. But we start talking about it now. We've got to get that back. We can have our law back. We're breaking that law.
There will be people who understand dance and things like that, which may have been passed down orally, but law business is something else again. And you can't make up a culture. like the culture that's been passed down in the Pilbara Kimberley and to some extent in the goldfields, that's been there forever.
Well, archaeology studies the human remains, so it concentrates on more of the tangible outcomes, like the bone stones and tools of what people have left behind. So it's more importantly actually the stories that are actually currently in the landscape and how they manifest in the landscape is more important, which is more the anthropological side, and that's law and them stories. And maintaining them laws and stories through communities is utmost of importance. That's easily lost. We've got an oral tradition. Not a lot of this stuff is written down, not a lot of this stuff is actually filmed, so it's, that's the sacred stuff. That's the stuff that needs to be enhanced and captured because that's easier lost than just the human remains.
That war, black people got the war, same as the white people got a war before. Yeah, all in the story, that's in the story there too. All in the song, isn't it? You made the smoke over there? They made the smoke, but when did the smoke off? The smoke just people want to go and see them. They went out to see them, they're all dead. The people been dead early part, killed all the people. They come up early in the morning before they get up. They speed them. That's that song that called and they went early in the morning, they see all the people dead. And then only one man get out, that's when it was a spell. That's why they can sing it now. One day, it is that hey ma, one by yura, hey ma. That's on the line, Straight to Bunninga. What's that road going to Bunninga? That's hot day. All the things getting burned. They made a shade there, around town. The youngest one made a shade there and a little shade. Biggest one make a big one. The oldest man thing. All around Gordon Run, you see a lot of bones everywhere. And that water on top of the hill. And nobody knows that. The old boys, all the kids, wouldn't believe me for that. I'm telling, bring your pannikin. Why you got the water up the top there? You're looking at that hill high, find the water. Come on up, bring your pannikin. Oh, that old followed me. He did a howl only about that much. Drink of water. On top of the hill.
And just sitting in that creek line and listening to that old man and being on a lot of surveys with him, he taught me subtle stuff. It's just, that's the way he seems to teach people. It's not in your face or anything like that. It's just subtle stuff that he will just release a little bit of information to help you,
Yandiara, when old Peter Coppin was alive, when the community first set up there back in the 70s, it was stunning. The place was always spotless. There were trees growing, there were gardens, the kids were going to school. He was very good to us with Aboriginal employment because he wanted all his people to work. He had one of the best kept communities in Australia, I might say.
Peter wanted me to go with him. They called me up there and make me number 2 boss. When I was in heaven, he got married before we got there. Before that, he come with me, what Pardue, Warren. We worked there, and then they wanted to go in here. He couldn't go see his father. Wanted him to go there to see his country. So I went with him. Well, me and Peter went there. But I done all the work. They were there, but I done all the work. I put up the 2 windows, and I put the gate and everything for them. I built the yard there too, that was. But it's gone now. From there, I sit there now, did it? I think I left. My uncle's gone, Peter's gone. My grandson's taken over now. My son, anyway. Me and Peter was going good. We said no broke. Now this time they we started drinking too much now. That's why I not pulled out, but I walked away from there. I'm not there no more. I say, all right, I just stopped there. You're going to be that I was drinking. The one bloke would start drinking and they run out of grog and start on the old blocks too. Big mob of them. And they're singing around, they're talking about nobody talking together. And this man wanted to know why we're not talking together. And he said, and he started singing. Nani ko zamagani nani vega ravani. Yolo vede nara buru baguna kunyai nani ko zamagani. Vega ravani na yolo vede nara buru baguna. Janyin mango na gajuru majina. Tingar vele nara kunde jere wambur kunala menai janyin mango gajuru majina ta. Tingar vele nara kunde jere wambur kunala. Manja zagarali jungaku wadi jurgana nadu mango jaku. Injinge anana jina ngina mana nadi je purte ngawe jina ngajinje. Manja zagarali jungaku wadi jurgana nadu mango jaku. Injinge anana jina ngina mana nadi je purte ngawe jina ngajinje. Now you know mean, you're making them mad. That's what this was mean. That song meant for the grog. They were drinking grog, lollipop, that, and that, nothing to drink after that. And they was all gone sleep, no talk, one another, never talk one another, and just thought, just another man was asking them, why are we not talking together? Because we got nothing to give us grog. I'll go and get a grog first. That's what they've been said. We're going to get our grog. That's that man saying, see? When I get the grog, everybody start singing and talking and touching one another. You can't do that without a grog. You can do that with a grog. When you get grog, you get drunk, and they all pump on and all that talking. But we're trying to get my mob to do better than that. I want them to do it, but they're not listening. I don't know, they're still having an argument now, a little here and there. We're going to do that, but we want to stop that things coming in too fast. This and this. But how are we going to stop it? That's the ones taking all the boys away before we had to work. They had no drinks. while I'm no drink. Just that. I'm smoking, needle, drunks, others. It's taking everything away. Yeah. And now we're going to trouble. We had a 5 meeting, you know. Well, the meeting was all the breakfast, all the people that cut in the law and everything. How we're going to stop our kids doing this and doing that. We're going to tell that man there, and our country is ripping every way.
Heritage and culture has become a commodity. I mean, no matter which way you look at it, people are making money off of heritage and culture. I mean, my businesses do that. As Aboriginal Land Services, we do anthropological and archaeological surveys. Because of this cultural commodity, a lot of our elders are working until they pass. And never to receive a super or anything like that, you know what I mean? So it's almost like the commodity is that elder for other people's super fund. I don't think it's right. I reckon they should be able to have the dignity to do whatever they want. And if they don't want to work anymore, but they still want to teach culture and it's not about money, that's the way it should be, yeah. And a lot of people ask me all the time, it's like, what makes an elder? And I was like, well, one, an elder would never stand up and go, I'm an elder. They just are, and it's just their status and their demeanour. They don't need to run around shouting they're elder. And if they do, you kind of like go, oh, why are you doing that? Like, you know. But also, eldership is about wisdom and knowledge, and the wisdom and knowledge you hold. And you can be relatively young and be an elder, because you've got wisdom and knowledge for a particular tract of country that no one else may have. And so therefore for that country, you're an elder for that country because you can speak for it. So, and when you look at Yandaguchi, you know, Gordon, Ulion, number 2, the amount of country that they could speak for, because they just know, it's quite vast through that Pilbara. And I mean, not just like through the Pilbara, kind of like when it comes to songlines, probably expresses outside of the Pilbara as well. Yeah. He's an old man now, and to see an old man like that still active and strong in culture and teaching culture, it's really heartening that here, even in Noongar culture, we've got the ability to follow that old man's lead and to ensure that we do it now. Values are values, and values don't change too much from a basic human instinct, you know what I mean? So when you're looking at people's values, I mean, an example would be Kings Park. Noongar people have been going to that area for 60,000 years. We go there for a feed, marriage ceremony happens there, law ceremony happens there, rituals and stuff like that. You go up there today, white people are still sharing them same basic cultural values. People are getting married there. They honour the you know, the soldiers, the fallen soldiers, and that's a ritual that happens at least once a year. So rituals happen there. People go and have barbecues, and as I said, they get married there. So, them cultural values, and in the sense of living culturally with them values, you can do that in any society because no culture is static. It just doesn't stand still. It evolves with the times that you're currently in. It doesn't just sit there in 60,000 years and that's it. It's evolved to modern times. Yep.
But we told them the Lord, yes, we all work together. We all one mob.
A lot of Australians think their identity is only 200 years old, and it's not. It's older than that. And so when I teach my culture, the kicks I get out of that is opening people's eyes out, in a sense, saying this is not just my culture, this is your culture in a sense as well, because we're Australians. So Aboriginal culture is Australian culture. So it's not. It just widens their minds, and that acceptance of it's theirs as well. So not just mine. Yeah.
I've been stubborn since I was little, and I was determined never to allow myself to be disadvantaged. I went through disadvantage up until I started work, and then I joined the army, and that made me more determined to make something of myself. And then when I had children, I was determined they were never going to be behind the 8 ball. We were forcibly removed here at Sister Kate's, and our identity was trying to be erased from us. But we all accepted our identity as we got older. We knew who we were, and when we found our families accepted us back and said, you're always part of our family.
Oh, we all one. Good family. We all get together. That's why we look out for one another.
But I had spent so much time in the Pilbara, I knew who the bosses were, and you just gave respect, because they gave me respect and helped me in so many ways. So, I was in touch with a lot of people, still carrying on the tradition of law, will continue, and hopefully the younger ones will come up to step up, because the older ones are not getting any younger. I mean, they might be younger than me, some of them, or some of them as old as me or older, but they won't be around forever. And if the young ones don't step up, the law will always be there. You can't wipe it out, but it just remains to be seen whether it's carried on.
So if a country has lost that and someone knows that story, it's always, depending on how it's going to be used, but it's always good to be able to pass that on so that law can go back through that country. Now, number 2 is smart enough to know who he should place that responsibility into, and if he feels he should replace that responsibility to someone, that's all well and good. But if he feels that no, that's his decision, and that old man's wise enough to actually make them decisions. He will know, well, this is something that's going to be left with me, or this is something that needs to go on.
Yeah. I'm the last one.
If the moon gives up rising, the sun stops it shining, you know you've got a hand to hold. As we wait on the timing, together we're finding there's more than one way to go home. Yeah, there's more